Greetings all. Welcome to your read-along book. Every time you hear this sound, it means it's time to turn the page in your storybook.
Welcome to the Mr. Kitty podcast.
This is the Lo-Fi Landfill, the Mr. Kitty cast. We are doing a podcast because it's 2015.
And we couldn't think of a really good name for the podcast.
It was the best one we could come up with.
Please be patient. God's still working on us.
I was thinking about the Love Cascade. Mr. Kitty's Love Cascade.
But you were worried people wouldn't understand the irony.
I believe people would not understand the irony.
People on the internet sometimes have trouble with irony.
They're a little literal.
Sometimes.
On the internet. Hey, welcome to our podcast. What are we going to do on this podcast? Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do on this podcast. We are going to play crazy old music from our record collection. And we're going to play cartoon music. We're going to play music by and about comic book characters and superheroes. We're going to play crazy old punk rock music. We're going to play music we don't know where it came from.
There will also be a special segment where we talk to people at Anime North 2015, which happened about a month ago.
We're going to be talking to anybody we know whom we can get sit still long enough to talk into the mic and refrain from cursing every third word. That's our goal.
Yeah.
I think we can live up to that.
I think that's a realistic expectation.
And we're going to do this podcast whenever the hell we feel like it.
This may be monthly, it may be...
Oh, no way.
Maybe quarterly, let's say.
I'm aiming for quarterly.
We hope to make this a quarterly podcast.
And at some point, we are going to talk about Japanese cartoons we like. We're going to talk about comic books we like. We're going to talk about what we're doing in terms of our comics and where we're going on vacation and movies we saw and the dog we saw down the street.
I saw a dog wearing a necktie yesterday. And we'll be talking about the Kickstarter that we have just running now.
That's true.
Mr. Kitty's very first Kickstarter, so we'll be talking about that in a few minutes.
We've got the straight dope on that Kickstarter, and you will not believe the secrets we're going to reveal about this Kickstarter.
Doctors hate it.
Doctors hate this secret. I don't know where they're going to let us finish. That's the Lo-Fi Landfill. And I do want to point out, everything you're going to hear on this podcast, all the music, we own the vinyl, or sometimes the CDs.
We own the actual live music.
We paid cash money for it. This isn't stuff we downloaded. We paid money for this stuff, or in some cases, we took it out of a dumpster.
Or someone would give it to
us.
Or,
sure.
They wanted to get rid of it. And it's the same with the comics that we feature on Stupid Comics. We all own physical copies of each and every one of them.
That's the rule. That's the Stupid Comics rule. Number one is that we physically own all these comics, which says a lot about us psychologically, I think.
Yeah.
And why we do it. I think it's revenge.
We have to justify this wall of comics behind us somehow.
It's true.
Our first musical track is from the film Gulliver's Travels Beyond the Moon, a great Toei film released in 1966 with key animation by somebody named Hayao Miyazaki. The song is about robots taking over an entire planet and it's called Rise Robots Rise.
Rise, robots, rise. chance. We will conquer space.
I mean, the link to the Kickstarter is on Mr. Kitty main page and then Element
Yeah,
of
I think
Surprise main page.
we'll just send people
because
to go.
the Kickstarter is kind of this awkward.
Well, they wouldn't be listening to this if they couldn't actually get to MrKitty.org.
Well, that's the thing, and there will be a link on whatever page they get the podcast from as well.
That's true.
So.
That's true. Okay, so we're here. We're talking with. I'm pretending that this is a real radio show, and we're in a real radio studio as opposed to sitting on our couch looking at the
We have
stupid cat.
reversed our usual positions on the couch, though.
It's awkward.
So this is more like not two people just sitting around at home.
We're definitely taking this very seriously. So anyway, we are here. I'm Dave, and this is Shain.
Hey, how's it going, eh?
Anyway, so the deal is this. We have a Kickstarter, and it is for, what is this Kickstarter for, Shain?
The Kickstarter is for my webcomic, The Element of Surprise, to put the first two stories of which into a print volume that will be distributed around the world to whoever pays for it.
Around the world. And
Ships anywhere.
This is a comic you've been doing since when?
Since 2008.
Wow.
I first got the idea in just after we moved into this condo in February of 2000. That's why I can remember so well exactly when it was, because it was just after we moved in February 2008.
In the middle of that amazing snowstorm.
Yeah, it was a terrible weather. It was really bad snowstorms that particular year. Not as bad as this past year, but it was still pretty bad. We just moved. It was an incredibly stressful move. We hadn't closed, so we were in sort of this weird, crappy no man's land of home ownership. And it was kind of a stressful time. And that's about when I first got the idea.
So out of this stress came this artistic creation.
I guess. I had a dream one night, and it was a very short but vivid dream with just a couple of quick images that gave me the idea for the story.
Wow.
And the characters. The characters were not particularly fleshed out at that point.
I see you have a visitor.
And I sound fainter now because I've had to lean back to make room on my lap for Miss Kitty.
Make room
Everyone
for
say
Kitty.
hello to Miss Kitty. They'll be like, why does their voices suddenly sound growly and grumbly?
So, this is a comic you've been doing since 2008.
Yes. I got the idea February 2008 and started just jotting down pretty much anything I could remember from what I'd dreamt. Just, sketches and my first impressions, just the barest bone first impressions of the scenes and the characters. I had no idea what to do with them. I didn't tell anyone about them. I was just going... I decided at some point, after drawing a few of the scenes, I thought, well, I'll draw out a comic as I flesh it out, but I won't post it anywhere, and I won't tell anyone about it. I'll just do it. Because I wasn't really doing anything else creatively at the time, and I guess this sort of took hold of my imagination because I wasn't putting it to any other use. So, I started drawing the comic, and then I had an account on a social media site called Y Gallery, which is expressly for male art, and gay male art, and naked male art, and medical diagrams of male genitalia and such. And I just had an account there. I didn't do anything with it.
So it's for the kids.
It's for the kids, yeah. For kids. And I said, well, you know what? This is an anonymous account. My name isn't attached to it in any way, shape, or form, so I'll just put this stuff up here. So I did. I got a few readers, built a small audience there, and got enough ass pats that I felt good about continuing it. So I did that for several months, and I think I was also doing my other webcomic Behind the Blue Door at the time.
Yeah, I remember there was some overlap.
Yeah, there was some overlap, and that was not a hard thing for me to do. Behind the Blue Door was free form, there was no real plot, I just basically drew whatever I felt like drawing at that particular moment. It wasn't a particularly challenging strip, but it was fun to do. But I was able to somehow keep up both for a while. Again, I had not mentioned Element of Surprise to anybody at this point. And after several months of this, I'm like, it started to feel weird that I wasn't telling anyone about it. So I told you about it.
Yeah.
like, oh, and I have this other webcomic that I've been doing for a week, for several months now. We decided to put that on MrKitty.org.
Kind of a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember, but I had lots of pages done by this point. And so we put it up on Mr. Kitty. Yeah, started getting an audience from there. And the art was, like, really... This was the first comic I'd ever drawn pretty much entirely digitally. Because since I was basically hiding it from the world, I didn't want any hard copy evidence that I was doing this. So I didn't put anything in my sketchbook. I'd like maybe do a doodle on a notepad and then throw away the page once I was done with it. But mostly it was done, pretty much it was constructed entirely online, like digitally rather. I would sketch it out in Photoshop and I would do the finishing artwork in Comic Works. And that was really hard because I hadn't had a tablet for that long, and I don't have too much trouble drawing with a tablet, but it is infinitely easier for me to start with the sketch from pencil and paper.
Was this when you got your newer bamboo tablet? Or
no, I was still using the old, whatever it was, which was sort of this off-brand. It was an okay tablet, it did its job, but it was battery powered. I always had to replace the batteries. The nib wasn't terribly reliable, and eventually the pen just died, so I bought a Wacom bamboo. That's served me well ever since.
So you've been doing Element of Surprise. You did the first, correct me if I'm wrong, the first two books were kind of in sequence. You did one and then you did two, or did you pause between one and two? There
was a short pause between one and two, just taking a break, and I think I want to say I tried to restart Behind the Blue Door at some point. I can't remember when that was. And that magic was just not returning. I couldn't really make a go of a second try at that. That was just, I
think you really enjoyed drawing the King Kong Escape submarine people.
Well, it was fun, but that was like the first thing that I drew. And after that, I was like, I have no idea where I'm going with this. This is just stupid.
I felt like the first Behind the Blue Door was, you were kind of working that dreamlike vein of just sort of going where your id took you.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, Behind the Blue Door, like, people, I suppose some people would read it and go, this is just some idiot copying down their dreams into comic form. And that's, like, the only comic I've ever done that was never based on a dream. Like, Element of Surprise is, like, totally linear.
And yet, Behind the Blue Door has this dreamlike sense to it.
It's made up as I went along, so that's pretty much why.
It's dreams, right?
Yeah. And, it's whatever I felt like drawing that day. Although, Miss Lolly Pig, the little gothic Lolita pig in Behind the Blue Door, she wasn't based on a dream. She was like a weird delusion I had one day. A flash image of a pig in gothic Lolita dress flashed in front of my face.
Something like the old folk wisdom of putting lipstick on a pig.
I guess so. I guess it works.
So, and you've been putting Element of Surprise up. It's been on Y Gallery.
Yeah. And
so you've had readers there.
Yeah.
And then you started running it on Mr. Kitty.
That's correct.
So we're kind of, and I don't know if that's acceptable in the world of webcomics, but I don't care.
What, running a strip simultaneously on two sites?
Yes.
No, I think people do it.
I have no idea.
I think it's actually, a lot of people suggest you just put it everywhere to get a readership, which I'm not doing. I'd rather people go to the site and click on every single ad they see.
We would request when you're visiting MrKitty.org to click on every ad.
Click on every single ad. Well, don't click on every... Do it once in a while, because eventually they'll figure out if you're just clicking for the sake of clicking, so don't...
You're board? Click on some ads.
It's just Google. It's not going to take you to a porn site. It's just Google.
Anyway, so you've got readers. You've got readers at Y Gallery, and you've got readers at Mr. Kitty. What kind of people are reading? What kind of feedback have you gotten? What kind of readers are reading? I
don't get a lot of feedback. I get more on Y Gallery because it's social media. They're adults because it's an adult site. It's a mix of male and female. Mostly young, but not necessarily. And, of course, they are interested in, what's the opposite of sapphic love? Gaic?
Yeah, we're going to have to...
That's really bad.
There's not really a classic, like sapphic sounds all classy.
Yeah, it sounds classy.
There's not really the classy... No, I'm just curious about because we don't get a lot of feedback, you know?
No. We get some. I would say that probably 3/4 of the audience are women, young women. But again, there are men reading it as well. And I wouldn't suggest anyone under, say, the age of 15 or so reads it, because it's not porn by a long stretch. But I would say it's R-rated.
It's for grown-ups, right? I mean, it deals with, these are grown-ups who have jobs.
Yeah.
They go to work. They worry about paying bills.
Yeah, they have jobs. It's, they're not... I try to keep their personalities. I try to avoid... It's not yaoi.
Yeah.
It's... I hesitate to call it gay literature because being straight, I'm not really able to write about the gay experience the way an actual gay person would. The main characters are gay. Like I said, the relationship, the fact that it's two men is not the main emphasis of the story. There's internal conflict from both of them because neither of them are accustomed to being in a relationship with another man. That's kind of there is a thrust of that in the first story. By the second story, it's more or less been established, so it's not really an issue. The main thrust of the story is it's a crime drama, so that's, at least in the second and the third volume, which I'm doing right now, it's much more of a crime drama than...
Well, what I feel the story is you can have, when you're speaking of women in society, you can use the phrase post-feminist.
Yeah.
And that women are now equals and can work the job and bring home the bacon.
And there's no racism either.
And there's no racism either, right? So post-racial.
Right.
But what would you say in terms of
well, having brought up
post-queer?
Well, I wouldn't call it that. But since you bring up post-feminism, I will say one of the reasons it's two men. And not that I've really been asked why I'm doing gay romance rather than
doing
heterosexual.
Gay romance?
Well, just as opposed to a heterosexual romance is, I've actually been wanting to do a story that was romance, but heterosexual romance is sort of strife with all sorts of gender politics and stereotypes and gender roles that I didn't really want to get into. Like, I certainly didn't want to do, like, a typical bodice ripper with the pirate and the maiden or whatever. Making it two men sort of removes that, because still in society, even today, the default person is male. Like, this is very much, even if you're a woman, if you say, picture a person, they'll picture a male first, because it's a male-oriented society. It's male-identified. Even women tend to be male-identified. So, doing so takes away the gender politics.
Gets rid of the baggage.
It gets rid of a lot of the baggage. And especially by not making one of them more overtly feminine or masculine than the other. That, again, because another problem, like, with yaoi, which is the Japanese genre of gay porn that's generally by women for women, is that they sort of carry over the gender roles and the baggage into these male roles. And so they're not really changing that much. And that's a generalization. Not all of it's like that, but that's generally, there are gender roles even in yaoi.
So the fact that it's a relationship between men is not the main emphasis of the story. It allows you to avoid a lot of the gender...
I avoid as much of the gender politics as possible that way, yeah.
Because it's not about that.
No.
Well, as you say, it's like Starsky and Hutch, only less gay.
Slightly less gay than
Slightly
Starsky
less
and
gay,
Hutch.
because Starsky and Hutch is pretty upfront about it.
They were really, really upfront about it. And even if you read interviews with the two actors today, they will say, yes, this was about their friendship and their romance and their love. I don't think they use the word romance, but they will definitely use the word love. Starsky and Hutch were gay for each other. If you ever see an episode of that show, whenever there is a woman involved, they are, if not contemptuous, they are just completely not interested.
It's like Futurama, where he's like, you ever get the feeling you're only going out with girls because you're supposed to? Derail. So tell me, let's talk about this Kickstarter.
All right. Well, it's a 30-day Kickstarter, and it is to publish in physical hard copy the first 2 stories of the Element of Surprise. It will have perfect binding, and it's going to be landscape to fit the format of the strip. If you've seen the strip, it's sort of an odd format that I originally designed to fit the shape of a monitor screen, because modern monitors are landscape format, I guess you'd say. So,
and now you hold your tablet, and your tablet is a portrait format.
Yeah, your phone you can turn it to your
yeah.
side, but it's kind of inconvenient. So I didn't. This was 2008. They didn't have that in 2008. In fact, if you read the first story, it obviously takes place in 2008, 2010, which is when I finished. And I tried to keep that consistent whenever I would mention a date. And the characters are using flip phones. So when I did the second story, it only takes place a few months after the ending of the first one. So it's, I guess, still 2008 or something. And they're still having to use I have to draw them using the same flip phones, and it looks stupid because the second story was like 2011, I think.
Oh, just
it was
the
like,
next page you do, someone opens a box. Hey, I got my new phone.
Oh no, the third volume is simpler because I used that time to play catch up. The characters are a bit older, and it's now set in 2015.
If you'd like the meat that's the finest to eat and produce so fresh you'll ask for more, with every name brand right at your command, come over to your Piggly Wiggly store.
I'm not expecting you to fund my lifestyle. I'm not asking for a page rate. This is stuff that I've done on my own volition, that I did on my own free will. I'm not really sure why I did it, but there it is. Obsessive compulsive disorder, probably. I haven't been diagnosed. There's a compulsion to do this that's totally separate from the need to get praise for it or get attention for it.
I feel like at the end of the day, everything I do, I want that there's a stage where it needs to be out in front of the public.
Well, for me, the idea that if I'm putting enough work into it to try to make it look good, I feel like I should let other people see it. Because if I'm going to put that much work into it, then I should be at least getting some sort of an audience for it. Well, otherwise, I would just make it look crappy and not really care how it looked. And I should point out, a lot of the early pages of the Element of Surprise look really crappy. And it's not like it looks great now, but it looks really much better compared to the early stages. Because I wasn't sure I was going to share this with anybody else. The first few pages of that story are very perfunctory.
But you're going to fix those.
Some of them have been fixed, and I have fixed a lot. I'm talking about if you look at the actual pages that are still on Y Gallery. They're not on Mr. Kitty anymore. And even the Mr. Kitty pages could probably use some work. But, and part of it is I have to keep it consistent. Like, the way they look in the first story is a little different than the way they look in the second, and a little different than the way they look in the third. Because the first story, I had just the most perfunctory idea of their characters. So the designs weren't completely... I didn't have model sheets in the first story at all. I had a few sketches of the way the characters should look, and that was about it.
That's basically... I mean, I did most of Zero Fighter like that.
I did model sheets for the second book just because it made my life a lot easier.
Yeah, you're like, crap, how do I do this again? Crap.
Yeah, it makes life much simpler when you have model sheets.
Especially when, we'll go off on vacation or something. We'll come back.
Oh, yeah.
After a week or two, and you're like, oh, what did I do again?
Yeah.
How did I draw this? Was he holding it in the left hand or the right hand?
And if you change their costume or their hair, then it's like, well, wait, how did I do that again?
Yeah. I mean, this is why I feel like we're leveled up with a Kickstarter, because it's one thing to do a website,
right?
Put comics up.
I put these comics up for free, and I've had a pretty regular schedule with every comic I've ever done. But when you start involving other people's money in it, then it becomes much less casual.
Yeah.
And so I can't just take a week off if I don't feel like it.
I really feel like what we've been doing with Mr. Kitty, I mean, we've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah, it has been 10 years this
We've
year.
been posting every single... Well, I'm not going to say every single week, because we take time off.
We do take time off, because this is free. We're
not getting paid for Mr. Kitty.
We get a little bit of ad revenue, which is probably not even a tenth of what you think we get for ad revenue, because people always overinflate other people's income.
No, seriously. We've been doing this for 10 years. For 10 years, every week, week in, week out, we've been making fun of comic books and putting up crazy music and putting up our own comics every week. You know, we've been hitting this. And I honestly feel, I know people read it, I know people enjoy it, but, you know, I feel like we don't get nearly the props we should be getting.
We need more ass pats.
We need more.
We're going to
ass
shut
pats.
down the website if you don't tell us how great we are immediately.
I think sometimes it's our own fault because we've got an email people can send us, but we don't have forums.
There's no open forum. I'm not a big fan of forums.
We don't have. We have a Facebook page.
We have a blog and a Facebook page. The blog is linked directly on the main Mr. Kitty page, and if you want to leave a comment, you can. But I guess you need a blogger account.
No, but you can leave a comment on our Facebook page.
And yeah, there's Facebook.
We're not hard to find.
No, we're pretty easy to find.
If you found this, right?
There's a Mr. Kitty DeviantArt. There's a live journal.
We do have a live journal.
If you happen to be in 2004, we have a live journal.
Attention, people of the 10 years ago. We do have a live journal. Well, let's wrap this bad boy up.
All right. Check out the Mr. Kitty Kickstarter if you're a fan of this site at all, which I assume you are if you've been listening this far. And I have genuine gratitude. I'm nothing but grateful to all the people who have contributed so far and all the people who have signal boosted and retweeted or reblogged or whatever. Deeply grateful to everyone out there. To everyone who hasn't, you're dead to me and you should go live in a ditch somewhere.
I wouldn't say that. I would say we're very disappointed in you.
And I'm sure you can do better.
I'm sure if you thought about it,
thought long and hard about where you went wrong, the mistakes you've made,
you'd realize how much work we do for you.
And you are still dead to me.
Shop at your Piggly Wiggly store.
Here's an awesome song by the Hardy Boys, created by Frank W. Dixon, and who later starred in a Filmation cartoon that was also like an actual rock band, and they actually got...
The Hardy Boys, not Frank W. Dixon.
Not Frank W. Dixon, though he did not actually exist. So I was going to make a joke about how he was a punk rock singer, but he did not actually exist.
There was no Franklin W. Dixon.
He's just a house name. Anyway, the deal with the Hardy Boys is that Filmation decided that rock and roll was great, so we'll turn the Hardy Boys into like this teenage rock and roll band who would sing teenage rock and roll songs. And this is a song by the Hardy Boys called Sink or Swim, and it's kind of funky.
It's not bad.
I know love is a very dangerous game to be playing, but here I am, little girl, and this time I'm staying. I'm taking the plunge and I'm willing to bet on forever. Don't waste time being clever, let love begin. Count me in, lose or win, sink or swim. Count me in, lose or win, sink or swim. All my life I've played to win, and it's no different this time. I'm putting up all of my love that you're gonna be mine. I'm taking your side, are you coming along for the ride? If you want to, then try again. Count me in, lose or win, sink or swim. Count me in, lose or win, sink or swim. Yeah.
That was the Hardy Boys. They're sinking or swimming. Now I want to give you guys some Japanese cartoon theme songs. And we are going to give you the English language theme song to Eighth Man, right? To The Amazing 3, which is completely unavailable on licensed home video. So this is special.
AKA Wonder 3.
AKA Osamu Tezuka's Wonder 3, which is about a ducky, a horsey, and a bunny who are actually space aliens sent here to destroy the entire planet Earth. And then I'm going to play theme song to Gigantor, which I like a lot. And then we're going to give you the Dickies version of Gigantor, which is totally punk rock.
There's a prehistoric monster who came from outer space, created by the Martians to destroy the human race. The FBI is helpless, its 20 stories tall. What can we do? Who can we call? Go to war, the Eighth Man. Go to war, the Eighth Man. Faster than a rocket, swifter than a jet. He's a mighty robot, he's the one to get. Go to war, the Eighth Man. Quick, go to war, the mightiest robot of them all.
One of my strangest cases was when I met Gold Shrinker and the Numbers Gang. From Galactic Control, a space saucer lands on Earth. In that saucer, Patrol A3, sent to Earth to help achieve law and order. 3 superior beings from outer space. The Amazing 3.
Spaceman with a mission, you must make a very big decision. With your solar bomb you could destroy us, or save the world, or save the world. Spaceman must be wise men, straight to human eyes will be disguised then. Bunny, bunny, pony, Roddy laughed when Zero had no luck and became a duck. Spaceman with a mission, they must make a very big decision. Earthquake can't hide know their secret, and away they go to meet the foe. Amazing 3, amazing 3, amazing 3.
Your contribution to Wild One. Box DFG, Sacramento, 95801.
Gigantor, the space age robot, he's at your command. Gigantor, the space age robot, his power is in your hand. Bigger than big, taller than tall, quicker than quick, stronger than strong, ready to fight for right against wrong. Gigantor, Gigantor, Gigantor.
Treasure Mountain. These explorers, led by Professor Dig-a-Dig, are, incredible as it may seem today in the year 2000, lost.
He's
Mark of the Devil. Positively the most horrifying film ever made. Guaranteed to upset your stomach. This city is now being flooded with stomach distress bags. No one will be allowed in the theater auditorium without these free bags. Also available at the theater box office. Mark of the Devil. All ages admitted. Parental guidance suggested.
That was the Dickies, LA's answer to Teenage Head, with their version of the theme song to Gigantor. I have that on like a little mini CD.
Oh. Okay.
I bought that like the minute I saw it in Turtles Records, which is no longer around. Anyway, that was the Dickies. And now up, this is the show. This is the theme song to the show that I saw when I was 2 years old, and it turned me into an anime fan, and it's called Prince Planet.
Here comes Prince Planet.
And we're going to do the Prince Planet theme. And then after that, there'll be a special version, and I want you, the listener, to guess where that version of the Prince Planet theme comes from.
Guess the language.
Guess the language.
Prince Planet. No one can compare to the prince who wears a medallion on his chest. Using all his might, changing wrong to right. Prince Planet, he's the best. Now it's no surprise that he fights bad guys and he makes the bad guys pay. Whether day or night, like a flash of light, Prince Planet's on his way. Here comes Prince Planet. Prince Planet. All the things he'll do will astonish you. Prince Planet, he's the best. Break a meteor, whip a dinosaur, save a damsel in distress. Right before your eyes, from out of the skies, comes the hero of the dead. Out of outer space, now to take his place, Prince Planet's on his way. Here comes Prince Planet. Prince Planet.
With his friends, Ajibaba, Dynamo, and Diana, Prince Planet fights evil throughout the universe. While Krag, Master of Misery, works for galactic destruction, Prince Planet defends decency and justice.
So that was the English language Prince Planet theme, and then the special Mystery International version of the Prince Planet theme, which was from...
South Korea.
South Korea, not North Korea. South Korea. Though I would love to see a North Korean version of Prince Planet. That would be pretty awesome.
I have the feeling it would involve a lot of
starvation.
Little chubby guys saving the universe.
Well, much like Prince Planet. That's the deal, is I have this great record full of Korean versions of Japanese cartoon themes.
Yeah, and Tom and Jerry's.
And the Prince Planet theme is interesting because they use the American tune, but Prince Planet's name is his Japanese name, which is Poppy. Right now, we're going to give you guys the theme song to a cartoon that both of us watched and loved when we were small, and it's called the Cattanooga Cats. So here we go with the Cattanooga Cats. They are doing their thing.
Jabba-da, jabba-da, say jabba-da, 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 say jabba-da. The Cattanooga Cats don't ever purr. They know how, but not what for. The Cattanooga Cats don't go meow. Wouldn't try if they knew how. They're doing that thing. Jabba-da, jabba-da. They're doing that thing. Jabba-da, jabba-da. They're doing that thing. Jabba-da, jabba-da. The Cattanooga Cats are doing their thing.
Okay, that was the Cattanooga Cats doing their thing. A fascinating fact about the Cattanooga Cats, other than it being the best cartoon Hanna-Barbera ever produced.
Possibly the best cartoon ever produced by modern man.
Not for the actual adventures of the Cattanooga Cats themselves, but for the music videos, which were weirdly psychedelic.
Well, even the cartoons that featured the Cattanooga Cats were very non-linear and kind of bizarre.
Should we explain who the Cattanooga Cats are?
Well, they were a rock group consisting of 3 cat boys and their manager, Kitty Jo, who is a cat girl.
It's true.
And I am not a furry, but I enjoyed this show very much when I was 5.
I am not a furry.
P.S. I am not a furry.
P.S. The other interesting fact about the Cattanooga Cats is that all these songs were written by a guy named Mike Curb. And Mike Curb, who is still with us, is not only a great songwriter who has written many songs, was also the lieutenant governor of the state of California for many years.
A Republican, wasn't he?
Republican, yes. And the fascinating thing about California electoral politics is that, or gubernatorial politics, sorry, is that the governor can be from one party, but the lieutenant governor is elected in a completely separate election.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, whereas you had a guy like Jerry Brown as governor, as a Democrat, Mike Curb was lieutenant governor. So Jerry Brown would be like, let's do this stuff. And Mike Curb is like, the hell we are, we're doing this stuff.
I'm sure a lot got done. That was probably a really efficient system.
That was the 70s in California. So, you know, think about it, won't you? Thanks. We don't know why the Cattanooga Cats have not been released on home video in the United States.
I suspect it's music rights.
Well, this is our theory. Our theory is that it's music rights. And the guy holding the music rights would be Mike Curb. So, Mike, if you're listening to this...
And why wouldn't you be?
And certainly you would be listening to this. Please, please, please get in touch with the people at Turner or Warner Brothers or whoever the heck owns Cattanooga Cats and sign some paperwork, and let's get this show on the road so that children everywhere can be mystified by the Cattanooga Cats.
And bored by Motor Mouse and AutoCat.
And mystified by It's the Wolf.
It's the Wolf. That's something. That's something.
That show is something right there.
I
think the phrase stranger danger was coined to describe that show.
I believe it was.
And speaking of disturbing children's character cartoon songs, here's another Cattanooga Cats song that's all about Kitty Jo's birthday suit.
And how cute she looks
in her
birthday suit. How cute
she is in her birthday suit. Think about it, won't you? Thanks.
How do you like me in my birthday suit? Am I cute in my birthday suit? How do you like me in my birthday suit? I'm just crazy about my birthday suit. Having a party, it's my birthday. Lots of presents for me today. But most of all, I want to show a present for the boy that loves me so. Tell me, how do you like me in my birthday suit? Am I cute in my birthday suit? How do you like me in my birthday suit? I'm just crazy about my birthday suit. It's divine, it's all mine, it's a beaut, my summer suit. An attraction in any crowd. My birthday suit, it makes me feel so proud. Tell me, how do you like me in my birthday suit? Am I cute in my birthday suit? How do you like me in my birthday suit? I'm just crazy about my birthday suit. How do you like me in my birthday suit? Am I cute in my birthday suit? How do you like me in my birthday suit? I'm just crazy about my birthday suit. How do you like me in my birthday suit? Am I cute in my birthday suit?
That was the Cattanooga Cats singing about their birthday suit. What do you think that means? What do you think that song's about?
Maybe it's about a pretty dress she got for her birthday.
I think it's about a pretty dress.
Let's
she
just
wants
say
to
that.
show everybody her pretty dress.
Let's just say that it's about a pretty dress.
This is a show for children. And let me point out, these songs, they appeared on the Cattanooga Cats TV show. These weren't songs just for the record.
There was a video.
There was a music
Actually, I don't think
video
there
for
was a
this.
video for birthdays.
There is.
Oh, there is.
I've seen it. It's on YouTube. You can search for it on the YouTubes, and it's there. So next up, speaking of cartoon-type rock and roll songs, here we have the Archies. You know who I'm talking about when I talk about the Archies. We're talking about Archie. We're talking about Jughead. We're talking about Reggie. We're talking about Veronica doing the throw her hands in the air like she just don't care. We're talking about Betty on the keyboards because it's the Archies.
Veronica was on the
Oh,
keyboards.
Veronica's on the keyboards, right.
And I don't know why she would throw her hands up like that when she's supposed to be playing the keyboard.
Trying to scare away a bee or something.
Trying to work her triceps, I think.
She's working her triceps. That's what rich girls do.
She's very image conscious. She's got to keep her image.
It's true. This is a song from their first album, and it's called Boys and Girls.
Okay, boys and girls, school's in. Boys and girls, let's get together now. Boys and girls, let's get together now. Boys and girls, the lesson for today is love. Boys and girls, just listen to me, yeah. Boys and girls, oh listen to me, yeah. I'm gonna tell you about all the things you're dreaming of. Well, if you meet her at a dance and you should want to make romance, then you just ask to walk her home. The next day call her on the phone. Boys and girls, just gather round me now. Boys and girls, come gather round me now. I'm gonna tell you about all the things you're dreaming of. Let's say we go out Friday night and you want to hold each other tight. How can you tell when love is true? Your heart will tell you what to do. Now ain't that easy? Yeah, yeah. Ain't that easy? Yeah. Boys and girls, let's get together now. Boys and girls, let's get together now. Boys and girls, the lesson for today was love. Boys and girls, let's get together now. Boys and girls, let's get together now.
That was the Archies with Boys and Girls.
The Archies, the original cartoon band.
The original cartoon rock and roll band, so freaking successful. We could probably talk about how the Archies as a rock act was the brainchild.
It was I believe it was Don Kirshner, yeah.
Don Kirshner, the man with the golden ear.
He brought us the monkeys.
And then he said, why the heck are we dealing with these 4 real-life guys who are a pain in the butt?
These guys are kind of hard to deal with. They're human beings with their own wants and needs. We should just use some comic book characters owned by a company that doesn't really care.
And boom, there we go, the Archies. And they had like a ridiculous amount of albums. We want to go into talking about bubblegum music here because the Archies, as a recording act, came into vogue in the late 60s. And the popularity of groups like the Monkees and the Archies, and sort of, this is rock and roll for the preteen set, for the tween.
It's for younger
for young
kids.
people.
It's for
not
the children who see their older siblings going to the rock and roll clubs and the go-go.
This is music for kids. They want to hear what their older siblings are listening to, but they're not old enough to listen to the Rolling Stones or the Electric Flag or the Fugs.
Well, they could listen to it, but they probably wouldn't get much out of it because children prefer more upbeat, repetitive sound.
Kids are not big fans of the MC5. There weren't a lot of kids listening to the Stooges in 1970. We have all this great bubblegum music, and there was, obviously, this music is completely hated by responsible adults because it is for kids. What I believe bubblegum music does is it highlights the fact that rock and roll has always been music for subliterate morons.
It's true.
It's true.
By, for, and about subliterate moron.
And that is when rock and roll is at its best.
Yeah.
Is when it's in its purest form, enacted by the Ramones Act of 1974, which passed Congress unanimously, I believe.
Well, Phil Spector was holding a gun to everyone's head, so it had to pass.
Now get ready for the main event. The Fist of the Double K, with the toughest karate kung fu gang in history. Sword Scar, Master of the Blade, White Eye. Master of the Whip, Wolf. Master of the Karate Dart, Iron Paw. Master of the Battle Sticks and Pigtail. Master of the strangest weapon of them all, the 5 Tigers. Fist to fist with Mr. Jen, Master of it all. The Cannon Group presents Fist of the Double K, the first and only karate kung fu film to be sanctioned by the Royal Keek Society. Catch Sword Scar, Wolf, White Eye, Iron Paw, and Pigtail before Mr. Jen does. While their bodies become deadly weapons, yours becomes a shock absorber. Fist of the Double K.
You! Stinky! Judy is a stinky!
Wherever you go, there will be those who can't take it.
Stinky, 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 stinky. Woo-wee! Stinky! Stinky, 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 stinky. Oh, you stop that! Woo-wee! Stinky!
Until she hated to go to school. He hated to go to school.
Stinky, 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 stinky.
Listen, you're riding Judy too hard. Fun's fun, but this is different. Why don't you lay off?
He's been calling me Stinky.
What would you do?
So where are we?
We are at Anime North 2015, the inaugural episode of the Mr. Kitty cast.
We're going to play a lot of crazy old music like we used to. We used to put up those MP3s.
Yep.
And we're here with Donald Simmons. He's the operations director of Anime North.
Hello, world.
And I'm Dave, and this is Shain.
How's it going, eh?
And we're in the middle of a loud crowd of people.
Yeah.
So how is the con going? We're Saturday night. It's 9 o'clock, a little after 9. No, not quite 9.
This place is pumping. We're well north of 25,000 attendees, right? Something like 28,000?
It's going to turn out to be something like that, yes, especially after Sunday onlys tomorrow.
That's right, because they've sold out of 3 days. Mm-hmm. They've sold out of all the Fridays and all the Saturdays they're going to sell. So it's up to the Sunday numbers to get us...
Sunday numbers are going to be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everything that you love about the convention lifestyle is here. There's wacky, fun panels. There's interesting guests, voice actors, artists, fashion people, cosplayers,
dumbass
bands.
T-shirts.
Yes. T-shirts where it's Attack on Titan plus Star Wars because that's hilarious.
A lot of Funko things.
Yeah, and a lot of those Funko Pop dolls. Apparently those things are selling in the dealer's room, as well as everywhere else I go.
Everyone wants them.
Yeah. But it's a lively show, lots of energy, weather's been good, and it's a fun time, man.
It was really cold last night.
It was very cold last night. So if this is the first Kitty cast, tell us about Hell last night, Dave. How did Anime Hell go?
Well, I think it went really well.
In its new location.
It's awesome new location. That seats how many people? 2,500 people?
I maxed out about 22.
2,200 people over the North Convention, the TCC North building in their brand new convention center, which has the best bathrooms of any convention center I've ever been in.
They are awesome bathrooms. You could
Awesome.
live in those bathrooms.
I was tempted to set up a cot. Just like, I'm staying here. Actually, it's a really nice building. I mean, that's they need to build a hotel right next to that.
Yes.
I was impressed with the look of the room too, where it's a large room, and if you don't get to sit up front, they had those delay screens hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like if you were in the last 20 or 30 rows, you didn't have to look at the postage stamp screen. You could look up, and there was a big one.
Well, they did that, when they have in the ballrooms here, they would do that too.
Okay.
The satellite screens.
Yeah,
I think the projectors up here are a little weaker, actually.
Yeah.
Again, teething problems.
Yeah.
I'm sure they know that, and they'll do better next time.
Every year, or every time I watch one of your Anime Hells, Dave, there's always one thing that surprises me and just makes me almost sick with laughter. This year, it was Dr. Bees.
Really? You hadn't seen that?
I had seen a Dr. Bees cartoon, but not that one.
There's more than one?
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 of those things.
Wow.
I can't see ringing. Like, I think that one's really funny, but I can't see wringing any more comedy out of that concept.
Yeah. I saw an additional one that was pretty funny. It wasn't that level of funny, though.
Wow.
Does he die at the end?
I like the Japanese mental health, the Japanese
psychosomatic
mental
anime.
health.
Yeah. Those are really. Actually, because that show started, and then Gundam-san. The Gundam-sans are pretty funny.
Yes.
And the Blue Blazes came out last year, so I had some Blue Blazes clips, and it's like it's this wealth of self-referential anime type, knowing anime comedy stuff. That's perfect for anime.
There's a lot of that stuff out there. I mean, have you even seen Good Morning Gatchaman?
I have not.
That was like the Gundam-san of about 2 years ago. It was like a 3-minute flash cartoon of the Gatchaman gang, getting into having dumb domestic problems.
Has anyone fan sub that?
That I'm not sure.
See, what I want someone to fan sub is This Is Not Glass Mask.
Yeah.
Because that's like that Flash comedy series that's making fun of Glass Mask. And it's little 3-minute shorts of them doing
I remember hearing about that, where one of the characters was like all yankied out. And,
yeah, it's
like
crazy.
Overplaying the tough girl role.
Oh. And it's funny just without the subtitles, but you gotta have something. What is this bread thing that you were running?
Oh, that's a program in Germany called Bern das Brot. One of their public stations. They ran a variety show for a long time called Really Cool. There was a skit in it called Really Cool Things that was a parody of a home shopping network, where like this peppy sheep hostess and a talking bush, her assistant, would invent things and try to sell them to you. And they would always test these things on this very grouchy loaf of bread named Bernd. And Bernd would always get beaten up, blown up, or whatever, and so had a very sour disposition. This program won the German version of the Emmy Award for teaching children that it was okay to not always be happy. And about 7 or 8 years after
Germans need to learn this.
Yeah, and about 7 or 8 years after this program went off the air, the character remained popular. So they brought him back for, this is one of those programs, one of those channels that goes off the air late at night.
Yeah.
And they don't actually have paid programming. They create a few 10 or 20 minute loops and run them all night.
Okay.
So they created these 10-minute loops with this character doing dumb stuff to amuse adults.
Okay.
That's where you get a thing where it's like, the grouchy talking loaf of bread is suddenly dressed as Sailor Moon. That kind of stuff. Because it was a show about nerds and him making fun of nerds.
Because I've seen people talk about it. I've seen some clips on YouTube, and I'm like,
yeah, there were 3 episodes of the original that were banned from television, and those are the best ones. Well, those are the funniest ones to look at and say, I can see why these were banned. One of them is about them trying to sell an evil doll that speaks in a monster voice and has glowing eyes. Children found that scary. Another one involves them wrapping the characters up in cellophane, including over their faces.
Yeah.
And I think another one was involved starting fires. It was one of those imitatable acts things.
Please don't start fires.
Oh yeah, it was a character climbing into a dryer and then turning it on for laughs.
Yeah.
But my version of Anime Hell, I like to bring in stuff from around the world, and that was one of my discoveries this year.
I always feel like there's things I show that I think are really funny that other people don't think are funny.
Yep.
And things I think are like, well, I'll put it in. I gotta kill 5 minutes, and the crowd loves it.
Yeah, the crowd just
and
goes.
And you never can
absolutely
tell.
nuts.
That's what I like about it.
Yep.
You can't tell. And you did you get down there? You didn't get down there, did you?
I got down to the part of it, yes. I saw some of the mental health ads. Now, neat,
right.
I'm not sure if it was funny or not.
Yeah, I can't tell. The meat.
Oh yeah. It's hard to tell where that's really
tell.
going. Like it feels like there's never quite a payoff.
Well, the part where he gets up and opens the curtains and it's too bright.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
That is pretty funny.
That sold me on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about showing that the sex and violence.
Yeah.
And that just went too far as far as it
Yeah, that was one of those, you have to have a hard think about what kind of hell do you want to run. Do you want to run an 18 plus one?
Yeah,
or an
which
all
I do
ages?
not.
Yeah.
I do not want to run an 18 plus hell.
At the ones I run at Anime Boston, you will never see anything that crosses that line. Extreme violence and profanity are okay, but dirty stuff, nope, Then we'd have to card people, and that takes too long.
There might be a stray boob every once in a while, but, I have some things I have no control over. I think you've got 2 more panels.
Yeah, I've got the worst anime of all time coming up in just about an hour.
So, what are you showing? What's on the tap?
Well, I'm not going to tell you everything I'm showing because it's a wonderful and pleasant surprise. But I'm showing some of the...
they're not going to know because this is going to air later.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but I'm going to be showing some of this stuff at Anime Next and at Otakon. But with that said, I'm going to be showing some of the luminaries of NAC Productions, aside from Charged Man Ken, stuff like Astro Ganger and... what's it called? El Capitan Centera, which is Gecko Kamen. And there was one other show that's on the...
Do you have that in Spanish or Japanese?
I have Capitan Centera. I have it in Spanish.
It works just as well.
It really does. It really does.
We watched that on Univision down here.
Yeah. That's how I watched it too. I watched it on American Spanish language. Yeah.
Gecko Kamen is it's from the 50s, the first tokusatsu hero.
Yeah.
Actually, it was the Moonlight Masked Rider.
Yeah, a
Who
man
had
in a turban and sunglasses.
A turban, sunglasses, crescent moon on the turban, 2 6-guns and a motorcycle dispensing justice across Japan. You're fighting monsters.
Yeah, that was an incredibly popular program in Japan, and that actually got canceled after a child jumped off a roof and killed himself. It's those imitatable acts again, man.
Imitatable acts.
Yeah.
That is why the children's television got so sanitized and stuff.
Yep.
And people our age are like, oh, they ruined television, it's terrible, they ruined my childhood, everything was so bad because of these rules.
Mr. Bigot.
ACT, action for children's television.
See, I think the Batman
Children
thing...
actually do stupid shit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Batman, the animated series, all the bad guys had to have Tommy guns.
Yeah.
Because kids might actually be able to get handguns.
It's
true. And they figured, kids can't get Tommy guns these days.
Well, it's like keeping with that 40s vibe, too.
Yeah.
They're gangsters. They got Tommy guns.
Absolutely. As far as I am showing really recent stuff, too, because I keep up on that. There was a show that aired a season or 2 ago called Dai Shogun.
Oh yeah,
It's one of those. It's almost like it's a motion comic, but it was not intended that way. Like they actually have some heavy duty talent handling script writing and character designs and stuff.
They just didn't animate.
They didn't really animate it at all, and it's hilarious. It's like they pull the cheapest tricks possible to make it seem like there's motion, and there just isn't. It's one of those. This is one of those shows that there's been speculation in the Japanese fandom that this was all a money laundering scheme. Showing that, another recent show called Sparrow's Hotel, which is one of those 3-minute gag anime shows, but it's so threadbare and ugly and weird. People who've watched it have said, this looks like something from the 90s, and it's like, I don't remember anything from the 90s looking this bad. Yeah, like I said, I'll keep going until they scream for me to stop, which they may never do, so we'll see.
Forget it, man, and get with the countdown. Shake this square world and blast off for Kicksville.
And that's the Mr. Kitty podcast for the month of June 2015.
It's June 2015, and we're done. We're done with our inaugural episode of Mr. Kitty's Lo-Fi Landfill.
Our very first podcast. Please tip your waiter on the way out.
Thanks very much for listening. This is the first time we've ever done anything like this. This may actually suck.
This is the most concentrated time I've spent speaking to anybody, including Dave, in probably 20 years. So.
They took the mask off. They let me out of the cave. I can finally talk. Do you want to say something, Kitty?
If you hold her up to the mic, she'll say something. No. She's not
No.
gonna do it.
Thanks for listening to the podcast, and we're going to be doing another one of these shortly.
I suppose in the fall.
In the fall, sure. We'll get the summer out of the way. We'll tell you guys what we did for the rest of our exciting summer and where we got sunburned. On that note, we will talk to you later. Thanks for listening. And by the way, go to the Kickstarter site and pledge money to the Element of Surprise Kickstarter. Thank you. Good night. Is that good?
Yeah, I think so.